So this is about helping people to reveal their growth potential in a foreign country.
Mhm.
And so this video is in order to help foreigners to integrate better in the Netherlands. So normally the students who are learning Dutch have a lot of questions about Dutch culture and Dutch language. And I think this video will be very helpful to them. So now to you, Andy Baker, who are you and where are you from and what do you do?
All right. So I was born in Texas, and then I moved at age 24, I moved to New York City, where I lived for 14 years. Then I moved here when I was 38. Moved to Amsterdam when I was 38. I was on my first trip outside of North America at 37, and I came to Europe
Wow.
for the first time. I know. Oh, I have friends who are in their mid 50s, and they're just like, I've never barely been out of Texas. And it's yeah, 38 seems a little bit late, but I've very well traveled since then. And anyway, I've lived here for the last 17 years. And let's see, I I was a therapist in New York City. I studied art therapy. I got a master's degree in art therapy. And then I
Wow.
got an MBA in healthcare administration, thinking I was going to continue on in healthcare administration after being a therapist. I thought, I love New York City. Why would I ever leave? And I met a Dutch guy and I moved here, and everything changed. I didn't want to be a therapist, and I couldn't work in healthcare administration. So I eventually landed in, it was after a year or two, I landed in teaching. Someone said, you should be a teacher. And I landed in teaching, and it's works very well for me. I'm a sort of natural teacher, natural teacher. I think that therapist, teacher, that kind of thing you have to do to relate to people, and to that giving works well for me. So I do that. I've been a Toastmaster for a while, and that's a that's been a great outlet, and sort of has, in some ways, has steered my career, just in terms of the possibilities. I currently teach English to chemistry and bioinformatics students, but I would really like to just do more training to people who are content experts who have to give trainings. You know how you're a content expert, like I know about, maritime law or something like that, but then I'm asked to give a training on that, but how do I give a training on that? And those are the kind of people that I think it's interesting to work with those people and say, this is how you do a training, because you have all the knowledge, and here's how to chop it up and give it to other people so that they can get something out of it. So that's something I'd like to do more of that. And so that's
Wow.
that's me basically.
It's a very, very interesting story,
Yeah.
Andy. And you told a little bit already answer on my first question, but because my first question was how and what made you choose to start your life in the Netherlands? But it's because you met your friend, or?
Yeah, I met my now husband, and we met when I was on this trip, and we just stayed contact, and then one thing led to another, and I moved here, and it was yeah, it's worked out really well. I mean, I love the Netherlands. I love being here. I love I feel fairly integrated into the culture. I'm very comfortable here. But in terms of like being integrated into the culture, I think I'm reasonably integrated. I'm not I'm not 100% folded in. Like I know some people come here and they sort of become Dutch, and I haven't done that. But I also am not one of those people who's on the outskirts. Like I go to family parties, my husband's family, which is large extended Catholic family, and I just walk around and talk to people in Dutch. And I have some friends here who are Dutch, and sometimes we speak in English. So with some friends I speak in English, and with some friends we speak in Dutch, just depending on who they are. So but the whole integration thing has been an interesting ride, because I do feel like there's a point when when I was very first here, I felt like people were like, I've known foreigners to move here, and because so many people move here, they stay for 3 or 4 years and they're gone. And I get, because I've over 17 years, I've seen a lot of people come and go, and it makes me a little wary as well. I just think, how much do I want to invest in you if you're going to be gone in a couple of years? So, but in terms of integrating into the whole system, I've done quite a lot of work in that, because I don't expect to leave. So I figured I should be comfortable here and integrated, and do as the Romans do, as they say.
But how do you fit the new country and culture? You think it's like 50% or?
I would say it's a good question. I feel like I am okay. I'm going to answer that in a couple of ways. I'm 100% here. Like, I am in Amsterdam. I live in Amsterdam. I love being here. I'm not leaving. In terms of like Dutch stuff that I've integrated into my life, like 50 or 60%, like the bicycle, ride a bicycle. I know customs. I know whose hand to shake and who to kiss and all that. I know all that kind of stuff. I get that. There's certain parts that I just think I don't want to do that, and I'm not going to do that. Certain little Dutchisms that I just think, I'm not interested in integrating that into who I am. I'll keep my Americanisms, thank you very much. so I'm not 100% integrated in that, nor do I want to be. I feel, I would say, if I gave it a percentage, I would say 60, maybe 60 to 70.
And
Yeah.
which thing exactly you could not accept? Or...
There's some of the ways that Dutch folks socialize. Like, there was a thing back when we used to shake hands. There's this custom when you walk into a Dutch, they're all sitting in a circle, which, whatever, I kind of hate that, but I kind of hate it, but I whatever, that's fine. That's not a problem. But it's the whole idea that when you walk into a room and let's say there's 8 people at a table, that you have to go and shake hands and greet everybody individually. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I just think don't ask me to do that. I'm not going to do it. At a party at my husband's family, some 80-year-old woman's having a birthday party, I'll do it. But if I'm just going to, like, I used to go to a knitting group on Monday nights, and we would just sit around and knit, and someone new would come into the group, some Canadian who had a Dutch husband, and she'd just go around and shake everybody's hand. And I thought, I'm not doing that. I would just go, hey y'all, and I sit down. I'm not gonna. It's little things like that. I don't hate everything, but I just think that's, I'm like, I don't get, why would I do that? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you're just being yourself. It's a new country, but you want to stay yourself.
I want to make, yeah. And also, I feel like if there's a custom, just anywhere, if there's a custom, and I just think that's kind of an extra step for nothing, for no reason. Why would I do that? Then I'm not going to do it. Then.
Yeah, right.
But I'm pretty compliant with everything. There's just, traffic rules, or just rules, standing. I'm good at standing in a line. I'm good at waiting my turn. Which I think a lot of Dutch people are not. I've watched Dutch people like walk. You're standing there, and there's a whole line here, They'll walk straight to the front. I'm like, and I'm the first one. That's when the New Yorker comes out and I say, "There's a line," in English. In my most American, "There's a line." but anyway, I'm fairly well integrated, I feel like. But we, like at home, my husband's Dutch, and at home we speak English, but he made that decision. We spoke Dutch for 1 year, and then after a year he was like, your Dutch isn't getting any better. He never felt like my Dutch was progressing as fast as he felt like it should progress. And so he was like, let's just speak English. And I was like, okay, fine. It's fine.
Yeah, and he's speaking good English, of course, because Dutch people speak good English.
Pretty good, yeah. There's occasions when I'm like, I'm not even gonna say anything. He says something, and I just think that's. Yesterday he said, or this, as opposed to either this or this.
Okay.
And I was just like, I'm not gonna say anything. But if I'm in a conversation with like a student, I'm always just, ooh, that's a good one. That's a very Dutch one that I want them to be aware of. And I have mentioned to him. I will mention things to him, but I don't mention things to him all the time. But yeah, his English is really, really good. And we watch stuff in English on TV. He reads English books. He's very good in English. He could hear me mumbling from the other room. He's great.
Oh, it's great, yeah. So, and tell me about the biggest challenge you have had to deal with in the Netherlands. And how did you adapt to this change?
I think maybe the biggest challenge came when I very first moved here, and because I lived in New York for 14 years, and I knew a lot of people, so many people, because after you live someplace, you socialize. I'm the kind of guy who goes and gets involved in stuff. I'm involved in organizations. I know people. I do stuff, so I know a lot of people. And I moved here and I thought, wow, I don't know. I know one person, this guy I'm living with, and I was like, I don't have any friends here. And so I thought that to me was the biggest challenge, like finding people. And then there's that part of being friends with people where you're like, you remember when, was it 2 years ago, and we were out, we have a history with people. I thought, I can't do that with anybody. And it made me a little sad and a little crazy, because I just thought, there's nobody here who have any, I don't know anybody. I can't say, I just need to talk to someone face to face, because I'm going nuts with whatever. Like, there was nobody to do that. And that was a problem for a while. And now I know people. I worked on I was writing a guidebook. I was asked to write a guidebook, it's probably 15 years ago. And I met some people through that, and we are friends to this day. We have coffee when we can on a regular basis. Like every 6 to 8 weeks, we'll just meet and have a coffee, and we just laugh and we talk about, we're like, was that 10 years ago already? And we laughing, and it's just
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been in my choir for almost since I've started. Toastmasters, I've known my Toastmasters group for a while. There's a lot of people. So I just know people, and that helps a lot. So that to me was the biggest challenge. And I feel like, I thought when I kind of got over that hurdle, I thought, what I would be really good at is being a coach to people who were like, I just moved here, I don't know anybody, and I would say, great, what do you like to do? But my answer to that was join an organization. And there's a lot of people who are like, not really a groups person. I don't really do organizations. I don't do group stuff. So I was like, well, that sucks for you, doesn't it? Because that's how you meet people. You meet people, like people who are dating. You're looking for, somebody's looking for a boyfriend. I'm like, go join an organization and where people hang out, and then you just meet people and you become friends, and you kind of go, you're interesting, you want to have coffee afterwards, as opposed to dating websites, which I think are, hit and miss. I haven't done a dating website clearly in many years, but that whole integration process and getting a social group was I feel like I'm really good at that. So.
And the social groups, you mean Toastmasters or some other groups?
Oh, Toastmasters, just some group where you can meet with, you see the same people all the time, and Toastmasters, choir, which is not a particularly social group, but there's a social aspect to it. Knitting was a big thing. You're just sitting, knitting and talking about whatever. And then sometimes we would go, I went to one time with a group to, I want to say I think it was Antwerp, but we got on a train. We went to this knitting exhibition in Antwerp. But it was social, and you're just talking to people, and it's just those kind of, anything where you're just talking to people. Like when I very first started here, when I very first moved here, I couldn't get a job because the integration process just stopped, because they had been using the foreign police, and then they moved to the INS, and somehow everything, the information, getting the information from the foreign police to the INS, something happened, and literally for 11 months, they were like, yeah, that's not, just give us another month. So I'd be like, it's been 4 months, Fred, can you call them? And he's like, I just called them, and they said, wait another month. And I'd be like, it's been 6 months, can you call them? They said, wait another month. Because really the guy, when we turned our paperwork in, the guy said it should be, he goes, that's not, he looked at me, 38-year-old white guy from America, and said, they're gonna have a problem with him. Not a problem. So we were really expecting that I would have papers and I would be up and running and have a job 3 months later. And literally 11 months later, I went down to check the mail, and I was like, it was on New Year's Eve. And I was like, I got a paper that said, now you can come get your Verblijfsvergunning. And I went and got that, but it was literally 11 months. And then 4 months later, when I could start looking for a job, that was when I could start looking for a job. 4 months later, I got a job, which was ridiculous. And I was being a secretary someplace. Anyway, so
your first job was being a secretary?
I was a personal assistant to 3 vice presidents at some technology company. It was ridiculous, because I thought, here I am, I'm a 40-year-old secretary, personal assistant, whatever. But yeah, it was but that was my first job. And then I left that because I was a little too ambitious for them. I was like, dude, I'm a 40-year-old guy with 2 master's degrees, one of which is an MBA, and all you can see me as is a secretary. And so I was like, I was a little too ambitious for them, thinking I could possibly be something else. And so I got one of those contracts that says we're dissolving your contract. And because it was over 40, I got an extra bunch of money. Anyway, a week later, I was standing in front of a classroom teaching high school English, because someone needed a high school English teacher, and I was a native speaker. I had this much teaching experience, none. But they were like, oh, you're a native speaker? Can you teach literature? Go. Class starts in 45 minutes. So I did that. Stayed for 1 year, and then I started in a higher level.
But what was your job in New York? What did you do there?
I was an art therapist. I worked in an outpatient day treatment program with mentally ill chemical abusers. Very good job, salaried, union, great benefits. But it was the kind of job where I just thought, I'm really going nowhere, because you couldn't move up I couldn't move up because they were like, but you're an art therapist. I was like, I know, but I'm getting an MBA, and you'd think that I could move up, and they were like, no, but you're an art therapist. And I was like, ugh. So then I thought, well, if I get an MBA and I move hospitals, but I was an art therapist. I loved being an art therapist, but I didn't want to. I was like, I said to someone, I said, I don't want to be a 40-year-old art therapist, because that's just the road to being a 50-year-old art therapist. And I don't want to lean over. I don't want to just constantly washing my hands, and I've got glitter or clay or paint all what I'm wearing. And I thought, I want an adult job, because art therapy was something I chose. That was something a 24-year-old me chose. And for some point I just thought, okay, 40-year-old Andy is not going to like what 24-year-old Andy chose for him. So 35-year-old Andy needs to figure a way out of this. And I did. I got an MBA and moved to Europe. But anyway.
But you do not use your MBA actually now, or?
I do not. It has opened some doors for me. I talked to someone else with an MBA the other day, and it has definitely opened some doors and gotten some people curious about me. One of my first Hogeschool teaching jobs was teaching business classes. And what experience did I have? I had the MBA. I could talk about strategic planning. There was a logistics course and all sorts of business classes that I could teach because I had the MBA, which then gave me the credential to become an English teacher. That coupled with being a native speaker. And so now, after all these years, I'm actually qualified to be a teacher. Oh, and I wrote a book too.
Inspired you.
Yeah.
Nice. It's your book.
Yeah, it's me.
Oh, when
Me
did
on the
you?
cover. Me a couple of years ago on the cover.
Nice. When it's a couple of years ago.
This came out in 2017. Yeah.
Wow.
It's
How, yeah.
I feel like it's a good book. I'll send you a copy if you want. But it's like a large business card. It's a good book. There's a lot of good information in it. But it's sort of a platform builder for, sort of a, yeah. So it's one of those things. Writing's one of those things also that I've done for years and years and years. So.
And how? Tell me about this process of writing the book. Is it difficult to write a book? How did you start? What was an idea?
The idea was, I thought that I had been teaching at a Hogeschool in Leiden for years, and I thought, there's all these things that I'm doing in my classes that make my students engaged, and there's a lot of it's just my personality, just me. I would talk to my students. We were always laughing. We would go through the material, but I kept thinking there needs to be some sort of entertainment value for them, because they'd be like this, and I'd be like, put your phone away, like this, and be like, as they put your phone away, and I thought there needs to be some way, for some reason for them to listen to me. And I'm just sort of, I really do love a stage, which is why Toastmasters works, and it's why the little stage in front of a classroom, well, that works for me, because I'm up there, I'm having fun, we're engaging, we're trying to talk to people, I'm watching their reactions. And so I thought I want to take all of those things, and so I broke it down to creating the right environment, to how you deal with students, and then things that you can do as a teacher, like your sort of the branding. What are you doing? What are you bringing as a person? What is all this, and how important is this? Like how do you dress? You walking in a sloppy t-shirt and yucky jeans, or are you walking in like, are you overdressed? Like, how do you dress? How do you come across? How do you deal with your colleagues? How much social media, those kind of things the classroom, how do you do a classroom environment? What things you can do to talk to the students, just all of that kind of stuff. So there's three basic ideas there: the atmosphere, dealing with students, and you as a professional. And then they have sub chapters. But so I had a little outline, and I just started writing stuff. And I will tell you that I started writing stuff, and then what I was writing and researching fell into these categories. And I thought, oh, I just need to beef this up and take this one down a bit and beef this one up. And so I will, that's another thing I thought. I said to someone who, I have a friend who's writing a book, and I said, you just need to write, and then write some more, and write some more, and write some more. Because at this point, I think she was expecting to write chapter 1 and kind of go, good, on to chapter 2. And I said, what you need to do is write and write and write, like write, and then go back and kind of figure where everything. So if you don't have any words on a page, then you can't edit that into anything. If you have a bunch of words, then you can say, great, this goes here, this goes here, this goes out. I need this to be beefed up. You can work with it. So I offered to be her writing coach, but I was a little too, it didn't work out because I was like, you need to write. Commit to writing a bunch of words a day.
Mm-hmm.
How many words are you gonna write this week? She's like, I don't know, 500. I said, great, 500 words a day, every day, on average. One day is 1,000, one day is 0. That's totally fine. But at the end, I said 5 times 7. At the end of the week, we should have 3,500 words. And she came back with 3,000, and I was like, okay, fine, 3,000. Write another 3,000. But then you have something to work with. So that's how you write a book. You put words on a page, and then you figure out what they are. It's great to have an outline. I will say, if you say, these are the topics I want to talk about, like integration, we're going to have one topic. One is going to be on learning the language. The next is going to be on learning the customs. The other one is going to be finding a socialization group. The other one's going to be, if you had all those little sections, then you at least have something to write about. So, but getting
then you start, you can, if you have the chapters, you write into every chapter. You can start with chapter 1 or with last chapter.
Yeah.
Or, because like you say, you're just writing, and then you decide to which chapter you are putting the stuff.
Well, I had a basic idea. Let's say, like, I was thinking, like dealing with students. The idea was like, what are some things you can do to engage students? So there was a bunch of stuff on that. And so then I had all this stuff, and I just kind of moved it around and saw where there were gaps and then filled that in. That's the thing. If you have writing, then you can say, look at the writing and say, this is a repetition. Great, this goes out, and now there's this gap here. Fill that in. So, but if you had, let's say, just that example that I talked about, learning about the culture, great. Now here's 3 tips on how to learn about whatever culture. And it would go, you could use it. I'm moving to Africa, I'm moving to Russia, I'm moving to Connecticut. And it all is the same stuff. It's all the same idea. It's these ideas are applicable to wherever you move in the world. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of going in circles here, but if you just write stuff, and then you can move it around. That's my point.
Okay. And how long did it take to write this book for you?
Oh my Lord, much longer than it should have. It probably, because I started, it probably took 2.5 years, and it should have taken 6 months. But I had one idea, and then it wasn't really going anywhere. And I thought, and it took me a little while to just decide, dude, what you're writing, you're not writing this, you're writing this. And I was writing this, but trying to fit it into this. And so finally I just decided what I'm doing is writing this. And then one day these 3 sections popped into my head and I was like, perfect. Because then they had sub chapters. So it probably took me to the long answer to your question.
Mhm.
It took me about 2.5 years. It should have taken me 6 months. That was
Wow.
maybe a year.
And you were writing every day or just a weekend, or how
Oh
was
no,
your plan?
When I started writing seriously, like because at some point the publisher was like, you need to cook or get out of the kitchen. That's my own. They didn't say that. They said you need to do this, or by this, it needs to be finished by this date. And when I had that, because I love a deadline, when I had that, then I was off. I was off to the races. But the first part, I would write for a bit when I would write for a bit, and then I would have exams to grade, and I would write, and then we'd go on vacation. I would write, I'd come back, and it was always the process of it was trying to get back into the groove of stuff.
Mhm.
That's when I was really writing. Yeah, it doesn't take that long to write a book. I mean, it's really. Do you know what NaNoWriMo is?
No?
National, it's called NaNoWriMo is this kind of an acronym for National Novel Writing Month. NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. The idea is that every November 1st, and it happens every November, you sit down with a blank page. You can have an idea in your head, but you sit down at 12:01 November 1st. You have from 12:01 November 1st to 11:59 November 30th to write 50,000 words, which is probably not much more than this. But the idea is that you're writing the original idea is that you're writing a novel.
Mm.
But what I wrote this last November, I did it because here we are in quarantine. I was not going to Thanksgiving in America, which I usually do because of the pandemic. And so I just thought, oh, I'm going to do this whole NaNoWriMo. And of course I finished early because I type very fast. I was just sitting here writing all day. But like if you write 1,600 words a day, that's 50,000 words in 30 days. And that's like nothing. And I'll tell you that's raw material. That's completely like just write. You're getting words on a page. The only thing you're doing there is I had 1,600 words at the end of the day. Were they great words? Not always. Did it need a lot of editing? Oh, yes, ma'am. But you can write it doesn't take that long to write 50,000 words. And if you really wanted to, because most days I went for 2,000 just so that I would have a buffer in case I got busy. But just writing, I have this huge manuscript that I could work with. I could pull from, I could work with, I could add to, but I have something. Like having a block.
Do you have an editor, or did you do it yourself?
Oh, now with this I was off. I did some editing myself just to get it into some shape. And then the publisher had an editor that they provided, and we had discussions. I said, I like that. And she's like, I don't think so. And I said, well, I like it because we just had those discussions. And then they gave it a final proofread. I gave it a final proofread, and then I sent it to 2 of my smartest friends, and they gave it a proofread. And then it went to the publisher. Then it went to the printer. The deal I had with them, I got final say on a lot of stuff. A lot of times, you go to a publisher, and that's what publishing is today, because it was sort of this. It wasn't self-published, but it's not like where they have all the control. That's where publishing is these days. You can get a lot of. It's a lot different than maybe even 10, 15 years ago. So yes, there was a publisher, to answer your question, with 10,000 words.
Yeah.
See, I'm a talker.
Right.
I'm a talker.
Right, right. So I'm going to the next question about our things.
Feel free.
But it was very interesting for me to know all this.
You should write. You should write a book. It's a great thing to have.
Yeah. The next question is, can you tell me about a specific thing you never done before?
A specific thing that I've never done that I would like to do, or just anything I've never done?
Now, in connection to the Netherlands. So when you came to the Netherlands, you should do one thing or a couple of things which you never did before. And how did you react? What did you learn from this?
Oh, it's something that I'd never done
Yes, before in United States, but you are doing it now.
I will say that I would never intensely learn to really try to learn a language. Does that count? Because I took French class in college. I took Spanish classes just as an adult continuing education at a community center in New York for a while there. But I'd never intensely try, I'm really going to try to learn the language and get good at it. And that's something that I did when I moved here, that just in terms of my brain, I did, and I feel like I did a pretty good job. I mean, I went through a lot of stuff trying to. I did the inburgerings courses, which 15 years ago were free. You know, someone like me who was moving here for somebody, I got them completely for free. In fact, I was supposed to get 1 year of lessons, and the teacher liked me, so I stayed for 2. And then I did. I changed to a different choir for a while because they did everything in Dutch. I ended up hating it, but I left after 2 years. But I didn't enjoy it, just because I never felt like I never enjoyed the choir as much as I did my original choir, which I moved back to. And then what really helped was Samenspraak, which I did, which is where they pair you with a Dutch volunteer. Mine was a 73-year-old Dutch woman who lives right there, which is really great. And so every Tuesday at 11, I would go over to her apartment, and we would have a couple of cups of coffee and just talk about whatever. And so that got me into just being able to go blah, 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 talk about whatever.
Oh, nice.
In Dutch. So that's one thing that I did that I had never done intensely, was learn the language.
Yeah, nice. And describe a situation in which you embraced the Netherlands, the language and people, and that was a major departure from the old way of how you did things in your old country. What do you like?
What do I like about the Netherlands? I will say the whole biking culture. I dated a guy probably 25 years ago when I was in New York, who said to me, I'm going to ride my bicycle, because he lived in Brooklyn and he had to cross the Williamsburg Bridge, which is just, it's a bridge. I'm going to ride my bike all year long. I'm going to not take subways. I'm going to just ride my bicycle, because most people in the States will just put their bicycles away. Oh, it's winter. Who rides a bicycle in winter? And I thought he was completely bonkers. And it was like, what are you going to have to wear? And it's raining and it's snowing and it's slippery, and who does that? So I moved here, and I'm out in all kinds of weather on my bicycle. And that's something that I really embraced, was the whole bicycle culture. I can carry all sorts of things on a bicycle. I can travel long distances. I park it. It's a very I have that muscle memory of when you get to, go to the Albert Heijn, get off the bike, put it in the stand, lock, just all that. I've completely integrated to that. So I love bicycle.
So yeah, I hear you're eager to explore new ways, yeah, and to improve, yeah.
I would love a new bicycle, but I do love bicycles.
Yeah.
And I don't ride it that much because I never go anywhere, but in normal times.
Nice. So the next question, can you describe a situation in which you were embarrassed, and how did you handle the situation, and what was the outcome?
Okay. It's a language. It has to do with the language, of course, but I was at my husband's niece's. We were at his niece's house, and we were leaving, and I was just, after a while with Dutch stuff, I'm just like, okay, I'm done. I need to get out of here. I'm tired of dealing with, also they had small children, and it was just that whole, like, they're running around. The niece was talking to me, but all of her attention was over here. It was just like, I'm tired of being here. And so I leave, and they were like, bye, 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 bye. And I thought, oh, let me try out one of my many goodbyes. And I said, tot straks. And they were like, well, what tot straks? What are you gonna say? And I was like, shut up. I'm just trying to get out of here. I said the wrong thing, and they all, I said tot straks, which means see you soon, which I thought, is it so strange? Yeah, it was strange, because I think that means basically see you in a couple of hours or whatever. But they were all uproariously laughing, and my patience was completely, I was embarrassed, but my patience was completely gone. And I was just sitting there, like, it was like, I'm just shaking, just like, I was at this reaction of theirs. It was stupid. We're still they're wonderful people. We still see them a lot,
But how did you handle it then?
at the time, I was inside, it was upset. Outside, I was raised well enough that I was just, oh well. But inside, it was just like, but I physically, outward appearances, I was, it's like, oops, look what I did. What is it? What should I have said? Let me say that, because I'm going. Bye. I think they could tell I was impatient and ready to go, but didn't stop them from laughing at me.
Right? Yeah, it happens. Yeah. And
it happens. Yeah.
The next question is, can you recall a time when you felt disconnected with people or culture?
Disconnected with people. I've worked in an office in the communications department. I'm going to name names. When I was in Leiden, and there was an office culture there, and I want to say it was a Dutch office culture, but it's an office culture. It's probably just office culture. Oh, there's another thing in terms of the whole, like, things that I hate is the beste wensen thing, shaking hands. After you've seen someone after the New Year, beste wensen, beste wensen, beste wensen. I'm like, leave me alone. Don't touch me. Don't touch my hand. Don't shake. Don't do. I hate that. So anyway, I was in this office, and it's this chattery. It's one of those open plan offices where nobody really has a desk. You can just hot desking. You can go sit anywhere. Most people could.
No. Some
people had a desk, and I always hated being in that room, because they were talking. They would talk loudly. They would try to include me in conversations. I was like, I'm trying to work. I'm wearing headphones. That means don't talk to me. And also, I just didn't. There's the birth. Oh, there's another thing I can't stand. That is, it's your birthday. You have to bring something. and offer it to everybody and go around and say like this, it's my birthday, would you like a cupcake? I hate that so much. And I love baking and I love making cookies, but I don't want to go around and offer them to everybody. Anyway, I just hated being in that office because I never felt like there's a rhythm here and I'm not in that rhythm. My rhythm is I just got out of a class dealing with 25 students and you're all talking and you all want my attention. And all I want to do is be alone. I want to be alone and I want to let everything kind of go. And you're all just talking to me and talking to each other. And so I hated, that's when, yeah, I never felt great about that department or certainly that office.
Yeah, I understand that. And how do you do this in the United States with a cake? You just put the cake on the table?
You put a cake in the table. Hey, it's my birthday. There's cake in the break room if you want it. Yeah.
Okay.
There's cookies, the little birthday. Yeah, but you don't. And people go, "Oh, Andy, happy birthday." But it's not this whole taking it around to everybody, offering them.
Oh, you could introduce this to the Netherlands.
Yeah, put the cake over there and leave me alone. And I will say, I also hate when people say, "Oh, it's my," or I say, "Oh, we can't go out because it's my, I can't do that on Thursday because it's my husband's birthday and we're going out." "Oh, it's your husband's birthday, congratulations." And I think, don't congratulate me and don't congratulate him. You say like, "How old is he?" or something like that, but you don't say, "Don't congratulate me for my husband's birthday." That's a Dutch thing. So
Right.
don't do that. You don't do that in English. You just don't. So it's horrible little things like that I just it's ridiculous. Just maybe in me. But anyway,
Yeah.
I should introduce that to people and just say, put the cake over there.
Yeah. Yes. I did it too. In the garden, I just put the drinks and cakes, and I say, okay, here is a table, and everybody can take his drinks and his cake. Yes, I did it the same. Yeah.
They should learn that other ways of doing things. These international Dutch folks.
And what's the biggest misconception the natives have about you, and why do they think that?
Biggest misconceptions natives have about me, just me as me, or me as American? Just me as being me.
Just you as being you. It's interesting.
I've always thought this happened a couple of years ago. Someone said, this woman, it was a Toastmasters meeting, of course. All roads lead to Toastmasters. This woman was interviewing. She said, "Oh, can I interview you as part of my speech?" And I was like, "Sure, sure." She interviewed me, and I thought I'm probably come across to a lot of people as fairly normal, a fairly normal average person. But everything she was asking me, I just was just not. She was asking me questions. Excuse me. And she was expecting pretty normal average answers. And because she was like, "Oh, don't you hate mornings?" And I was like, I am a really good morning person. I get up super early. I love being up early. She's like, "Oh, really?" And I said something about a smoothie. I said, I get a smoothie. "Oh, what do you have in your smoothie?" And I said, named a few. Yeah, I said like blueberries, bananas, pineapple, kale. It's like kale, but it was just I knit. I don't think people necessarily expect that. I'm a lot weirder than people, and that's not even that weird. But that didn't sound that weird. But I think I'm less average than people see. I think people look at me and think, "Oh, he's a fairly average interests." I mean, I hate sports, but I don't like organized sports, but that's just a thing. I don't know. But I have told people, I was like, "Please don't talk to me about sports. Please don't." Ask me about sports. Okay, I don't care what. I don't care anything about it. I think people. That'd be my answer. I think people think I'm a lot more mainstream than I am, and there's my interests and views and are just
But
very.
it's you like a person. But what misconceptions the natives have about you as an American? Do they have some? Do they think something different?
As an American, I don't know, because I feel like I think some of the things that people assume about Americans, like Americans are fat. There's I'm not fat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody would mistake me as a Trump supporter or Republican, although when Trump was elected, it was like the next day, it was the following Saturday. It was like that came out on, I guess, Wednesday morning or Thursday, whatever it was. Saturday, I went to Pilates class, and this woman said, "Did you vote for him?" And I was like, I said to her, I said, "Don't ask me that." Like, and I was serious as a heart attack. I was like, do not ask me. It's like saying, I don't know, it's like it's like one of the most insult. It's just, to me, it's very insulting. Like, you think that it's somehow you're assuming that I would vote for that. It was so, what do people, I don't know. I do think, I will say, to answer your question, I think that I am a lot of what okay, now I'm gonna actually answer your question. What do people their misconceptions of me as an American? Because I speak English mostly, so in a lot of times in class, they will just assume that I don't know any Dutch. That's my answer. They will assume I don't know any Dutch. And I'll be talking to someone, and they'll, in English, and then students will do this, and then someone will come in, they'll ask me a question in Dutch. They'll say, "He doesn't speak any Dutch." I'm like, "I do speak. Let me deal with this. I'm an adult, and if I'm not understanding the language, I will say, 'Oh, guess what? I don't speak Dutch, but I speak enough. I understand enough Dutch that I could." When she says, "What time are you going to be finished with the class?" I can say, "About a half an hour." But of course, so anyway, I speak more Dutch and I've had people come up to me at Toastmasters and say, "Why don't you speak any Dutch?" And I'm like, "I do speak Dutch, but it's an English-speaking club. We all speak English to each other. So why in the world would I speak Dutch to you?" So anyway, that's, yeah.
Yeah, you're pretty open with the people, so it's nice.
Yeah.
And tell me about the time when you were communicating with the Dutch and they didn't understand you.
I didn't understand me. I tell you, I will say, just about any time that I go up to someone, that's why I enter now speaking English. That I would go to someone, I would say something, and I didn't know the way that. All right, we have a cuckoo clock, and it's going to get the most cuckoos ever. But when I start speaking, like I just start speaking, and I'm speaking in Dutch, and it takes them just a second to hook into, oh, he's speaking Dutch, he's got an accent, which, by the way, I have no sense of like what my accent sounds like when I speak Dutch. So I don't even know. I know it's not as bad as some people's, but it is. I'm going to have an accent because I'm speaking a foreign language or a non-native, another language. But that's what just about every time I go and speak to someone, I feel like that's what I need to say. Mag ik iets vragen? And then they'll go, okay, good. Now he's a non-native. They'll go, click, he's non-native, probably American, adjust your ear, go. But if I don't do that, they're just like, what do you, they're like, what are you talking about? That's why I think a lot of people, they'll just shoot straight into English. Which drives me crazy, but whatever. I'm at this point, I'm just like, well, I don't care. I don't want to learn your dumb language anyway. So go. You can all. I mean, I know their dumb language, but I don't want to speak it. There.
Yeah.
So that's when. So I don't have a specific thing, but it's just sort of like every time you go and speak to someone, they misunderstand me, or it takes them a minute to adjust.